If your CEO walked into your office tomorrow and said, "We need AI," would you actually know what to do? Would you hire an AI engineer? Would you force your developers to start burning through tokens? Would you ask your best team to build your own coding agent? Or would you just buy ChatGPT or Claude and hope for the best? Those are the kind of questions we've been hearing over and over and over again.
So today we're trying something new. Instead of covering the latest AI headlines that we do on each episode, um, we are opening the mailbag for our very first Dear Human in the Loop. So, hello, my name is Oscar Gallo. I'm an AI engineer entrepreneur, and I live in the intersection of engineering and businesses.
I'm Matt Wozniak, serial builder and relentless executor. I come from the lens of execution, what works and what doesn't. So let's get into our first ever Dear Human in the Loop. This is our advice column for builders and decision makers. Today's questions are based on conversations we've had with founders, developers, engineering leaders, and decision makers over the past year. So let's get into letter number one. Dear Human in the Loop, my CEO just told me we need AI. That's it. That's the entire brief. That was the whole meeting. Where do I even start? Yours truly, an overwhelmed engineering manager. So this has happened so many times, and it's going to happen so many more times, especially as AI becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's almost impossible to not adopt it across like the industry now. So first thing that I always say in these types of meetings is, where's your actual bottleneck? You can't just take a tool and find a solution, right? You would agree with that, wouldn't you? It's always
Yeah,
you
like
you need.
the one size fits all, it doesn't work
Yep,
in business.
exactly. So I would say find your problems, find your bottlenecks, and then decide the best course of action to resolve those. Because once you resolve those problems and bottlenecks, a new bottleneck is going to pop up. And you can't just throw AI at every single problem. You can, but it's it's going to be costly, and it's not necessarily the best way to do it. I'm a big proponent for deterministic workflows, and you can use AI to enhance or get those off the ground. But relying solely on AI is never the best solution, in my opinion.
I agree, and we're going to try to put this into very simple words, okay? But AI is not a solution; it's an enhancer. Well, let me explain what I mean by that. AI is great to be able to enhance processes and people, okay?
Yes.
Especially people, okay? So, for example, here at Valley we use many agents daily, okay? And we have our own agents that we're running, for example, for the research of a lot of the news for the episodes. We have few agents for that. We have agents that runs the updates of our websites. We have agents that they do a lot of the manual labor that we used to do before AI was on this level, right? And we're very happy with that solution because what happens is the team stays very very lean and very focused, and you can actually like empower everybody to be 2 times, 3 times, 4 times better than without AI. So our proposition here it's very simple. First, analyze your processes, what you are doing, what you do every single day that you know very well in that process, right? And believe it or not, like this question happens to us very regularly, even from friends that they just got this thrown to them. So first, analyze your processes in your business, how they work, what is like A to C, right? And just like analyze the process. And if you can, write that down. Okay, it's like this first, then B, then C, then D, right? This is one process. And then the second process, what happens is like D, E, whatever, right? Like the whole idea is that you can put into paper, into words, what exactly is the process that you are going to have there, okay? So once you properly understand each process inside your business, or at least the ones that you worry about and that are important to you, that's only when you start thinking about AI, not before. Because if you do not understand your processes and the concepts that you need to understand, and I won't either. Like, let's be real, like if you cannot put
Yep.
into words what are the needs of your business, and AI is not going to guess. Okay, AI is great, but AI is like in general, LLMs are very dumb. They're not like this weird thing that is going to end humanity, like some people try to uh, sell us this idea. No, that's a lie. Okay, so first deeply analyze the processes. Once you have the processes written down, okay, then you can do something as simple as literally put one of those processes into ChatGPT and Cloud and ask, hey, what do you recommend me to amplify or make this process faster, right? And they will give you a few ideas. Okay, I already going to tell you what is going to give you back. It's going to probably tell you about about make.com automations, about N8N
Yep.
automations. It will tell you about like some enhanced LM in the middle to make things better. Like it pretty much will take you through that like more generic part of the processes, okay? But what you're supposed to do is not to believe, okay, what the agent is telling you right there, but rather think about it and make a little bit of analysis, okay, about what exactly are you looking for, okay? For example, if you don't care about paying an external system where they will be able to see your data, but they will give you very good stability and all that, and you need to worry about anything, Make is amazing. Okay, you should go there and try to make a very small automation. Okay, with the most basic things. But if your business is a business where they gather a lot of very important data from users, and maybe you are maybe it's about law, right? It is about lawyers, stuff like that. You need to be very careful. Now, I'll make the case that you probably need a self-hosted version of whatever you're doing, so you have control over this, including your own database and all that. For that specific case, N8N is way better because it's open source. You can host it on whatever VPS or even physical um, computer that you have. You can configure your database and you can start analyzing how to properly do it. Okay, but
So
those are not the only two options. There are
yeah,
many, many, many options.
I would even say this is like a bit too involved for someone asking this type of question. This is literally like
Hmm.
we are zero AI. We want to get to one. And in this instance, like talking to them about N8 and workflows, like all these like because to be fair, those are pretty involved tools, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
it'll take a while to like adopt the N8N across like an entire organization, depending on how big the 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 person asking this question their company is. I would even say think way smaller. Find repeatable processes. Find things that your employees are sinking time into every day or every week or every month, and find a way to make that smoother. Prioritize one measurable project, right? Because you don't just want to just say, here's all our stuff, go AI, make it all great, right? It's not going to work very well. And like in order to like this goes the same for any type of new technology when you're first adopting it, right? Like you can't just go from 0 to 100. You got to start from 0 to 1 to 5 to 10 to 25, right? You gotta ramp up
Hmm.
slowly. And just because like using AI, you will ramp up more quickly than you would if you're learning like a new programming language from scratch, or you're learning a new tool or new trade, or learning how to ride a bike or whatever. It's find one repetitive, painful workflow, depending on your industry. Like no matter what it is, I'm sure your industry has painful workflows, like document reviews, report generations. If you're in like software deployments, repo management, like onboarding is a big one for every company, right? Onboarding can take some places you'll be done in a day. Some places it could take months because things just sit around like waiting for someone to approve something, or like for legitimate reasons, like you're a government contractor and you need to run background checks, right? I would say start small, think thoroughly, like before you just unleash AI on your things. Find small wins and then grow from there, right? Because eventually you will get to the stage where you are generating new end-to-end workflows. You're building entire agentic processes, but you can't you can't learn to run without learning to walk first. Does that make
Hmm.
sense?
Yeah.
So I think everything you said totally makes sense. But I think for someone
Hmm.
asking this question, like it would make more sense for them to start very, very, very small. Give your best developer like a individual Claude subscription or something, or
Hmm.
OpenAI or whatever one you guys decide works best for you, and just say here, find some like use for this, and just give them a couple weeks. You can even run it through some of your chat histories, and they can say, here's questions that have been asked over and over. Here's like here's some small wins that we could get, and then
Hmm.
see if the ROI for those is enough um, to adopt org wide. But then you
Hmm.
need to have people own that, and you can't just let everyone run wild with tokens and say, oh, see what you do. Like, I mean, you can, but it's gonna be costly.
To be fair, I think that you need like a cloud or OpenAI. Of course, like for serious work, okay, we will
Mm,
recommend you to have a proper cloud plan and an Anthropic plan. But you can start with simple things. A lot of people use already the Google workspace, right? You
mm,
have Gemini there, okay? If you sit a lot of time on Google spreadsheets, for example, you can actually use Gemini inside there and make it do repetitive work that you do all the time.
yeah,
Literally, just explain, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is document. Please, like, do the work, right? And it will go through this process on its own. As
yeah,
long as you explain properly how that works, that could be a perfect gateway, like gateway drug for everybody, right? Because we're
yeah,
talking that
for
like,
sure.
okay, they are still in a scenario where they feel comfortable, which is like a Google, a, how do you call this, Office, whatever,
It's
I don't
Google
know,
Sheets, right?
Office
Like
is.
Google
Yeah,
Workspace or
but
something.
ahead of them, they
Yeah,
have Gemini, and you can use Gemini to do things inside there. Even like
yep.
creating presentations, for example, you can actually prompt Gemini in Google Slides to create the slide for specific cases and all that. You can start with that because this is something that probably you already use internally, and you need approval, right? Because probably in the business you will need, if you want that like a $100, $50 cloud code, you will probably need approval from somebody, right? So
Mhm.
that way you don't even need that. You already have Gemini in your workspace. Use it, right? Like use it.
Yeah.
Start with that. Start with small. And if you're using Microsoft, God forgive you because I won't. Like there's no way you will make me use that. I know you have. I know that you have a million copilots inside Microsoft. But I would prefer. I always say a day that I don't need to use Teams is a good day, and I will extend that to the whole Microsoft ecosystem.
Yeah.
But Microsoft do have a few of those tools. That's the reality, and you can start there. And to be fair, it's going in the beginning. It won't feel small to you because you are just starting and you are
Yeah.
just like going into with curiosity, trying to see what you can do about it. Okay, and that's more than enough. But when eventually you grow up that tool, well, then you can look for something like, that we have been
Yep.
talking like N8N or Make.com or one of these things. One of these tools that are more complex that you actually will need to learn way more things and concepts. Really, it's more about the concepts that you need to wrap your head around
For sure.
than anything else. Uh, but you can start with that. You have Gemini already in your Google Workspace. Go for it. Okay. If you work a lot on Google Spreadsheets, please try to explain to Gemini what you're doing and just let that happen. Let it happen. Let it happen. And just obviously, you need to be checking what it's doing right in the beginning,
Hmm.
just to be sure that it's doing exactly what you're expecting. But even if it does 80% of the work, you just finish it the last 20 and you're already winning
Yeah.
because it will do it faster than you. So it's one of those things. And not only that, you can have probably like several instances of Google spreadsheet with Gemini, right? Just going through this, right, with several files that you need to check, and it's one of those things. But I will imagine that that's the perfect starting point for somebody that has no idea about AI, but they're curious and they need to do something about it.
Yeah.
That's a perfect start.
No, I didn't even think of that. And I do agree that's a good one. And I also think somebody who uses like the Google Workspace suite, right? Like the docs, the sheets, the slides, like they're actually the perfect person to start adopting it, especially like in a small business or even in like a department that isn't inherently technical, right? Because like you said, um, Gemini's right there. If you got like an enterprise like access to Google, you got Gemini, and you have already been using these tools, I'm assuming, regularly. So you know them well. And the important distinction, I think, is when you're using these, like Gemini, when you're first getting into using AI, you can't speak to it ambiguously. And by that, I mean, you have to be very explicit with what you mean. You can't just say, take this data and make a pivot table. You have to like explicitly say, take these columns A and B or and these rows. You can even probably highlight them and like give the context to the Gemini and say, I want a pivot table and I want it on this sheet and I want it, just you got to be very, very explicit. You got to have as little ambiguity as possible when you're directing it. And also, I would just say, don't give it access to your important existing sheets or documents. Of course, I'm sure they're backed up in some way, but if you're going to start trying to do it, take one of your important documents, make a clone of it, and start playing with it with Gemini. Don't use your original copy.
Agree,
So
agree. In the end, you're experimenting, right? So make a copy, do some experimenting, see how it works. But Matt, you just hit the nail, which is like over communicating is better than under communicating regarding AI,
yeah,
specifically with models that are not state of the art. It makes sense that you will want to over communicate exactly what you're looking for, or if not exactly, at least like go step by step, okay? Instead of like giving like 20 tasks, start with one. Just
yeah,
start with one, this specific task, right? And then when it's over, check if it's okay, give it a second task, and just like
yep,
rinse and repeat in that process, and
yeah.
it's going to be more than enough for you to understand, how you can amplify yourself with AI.
If there's one takeaway from this question, because this is a great question, we hear it all the time. If there's one takeaway, I would say start with problems, not prompts, and keep track of where your bottleneck is and where it shifts to after you adopt AI, because that's almost more important than the problems you're solving.
And to be fair, if you're in this process of experimenting, learning a little bit, make documentation about what you're doing, and if you can, like, share this with the other people who are working with you, because it can be useful for them, okay, in the specific cases. That doesn't mean what you have is the holy grail, of course. Like, you are just learning. They're like, probably you are doing a lot of things wrong. Uh, but level one is better than nothing, right? Still, even if you are starting, and that can be good enough for some people to start in that process too, and make it easier for everybody to be adopting AI in that process.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah, I love it, and like I said, like even friends, uh, technical friends, literally, that they don't use AI in their day to day. They're like, hey, like they want like full AI. Like, I have no idea where to start. It's become like so common, especially because there's so much noise. There's so
Hmm.
much noise right now that you feel overwhelmed. You really don't know where to start. It's one of those great questions that I love. So, okay, let's jump into our second one. Our letter number two in this case. Which is, dear human in the loop, I'm the founder of a growing startup. AI is everything right now, and I'm wondering if my first technical hire should be an AI engineer. Am I already behind if I don't? So, this is a hard idea, okay? Because the term AI engineer is not settled yet. Okay, the
Hmm.
reality is like it can mean a lot of things. It can mean AI workflows. It can mean generative AI. It can mean machine learning or reinforced learning, right? Like
Yeah.
there's so many things that this can mean, and it's completely different each time. But this is what I will say, okay? For a specific case, usually you don't need an AI engineer starting, unless even if your product it's fully AI, like that you are like you know like building an AI product. It's more important that you hire somebody that knows how to do proper engineering well and that has some experience with AI tools. That's probably more important because first of all, he's going to be able to enhance himself to be able to build to more stuff around. But at the same time, it's going to be easier for that person to eventually transition into building the proper pipeline of AI, right? Um, and this will only apply, okay, if your business is completely AI related. Okay, like start with the business problem. Don't like not with the technology. Like this is like a big thing that just like in the first question, they are like, oh, we're building this new startup that is like pure AI, right? And I'm going to put one client here. I'm not going to say names because we cannot say names, okay? But this application, uh, long story short, they had the idea that they needed to implement like AI in one of the parts of the application, right? And one of the things is because all the other applications are doing it, right? It's one of those things that everybody is doing it, so we should do it. And then we make an analysis, right? And in that process, we realize that the results from all these applications that they had, this AI chatbot or rather agent, whatever they want to call it, the responses were really bad. And this was an application where the responses were really important. Where if you will be off by 10%, you will be really off, right? And that's one of the issues with generative AI, that you never get the same reply twice, right? And that's horrible. That's horrible, right? Because if every time you make a question, hey, how much is 2 by 2, and every time we'll tell you 4.3, 4.5, right? Like you'll be, what the hell is this? Like it was exactly the same, so after some conversations with them, in the end, we realized like you don't really need AI. Like your product is not AI. Adding AI will just make your product worse. So if you really are worried about being exact on the calculations, like perfect calculations every single time, you need to keep yourself as far away from AI as you can, right? And that was a case that where we actively say to the client, please don't use AI. And I know it sounds weird because you'll think, oh, but you're like you sell AI and all this, and all this shit. Yeah, but that doesn't mean we're going to try just to sell this stuff because we want, some of the money. Like that's not how it works. I know there's a lot of people who are like weird like that, but we prefer to be transparent about what we think. So no, start with the problem, with the business problem, not the technology. AI engineers always will need a direction and clear objectives, and so you need to be very clear about it, right? And well, generalists often provide more value in the early stages because you need somebody that is doing everything back and front and mobile, like,
Mhm.
like the whole thing. Um, and the thing is that product market fit beats model selection by a mile. And like in the end, having a good product is more important than the AI features that you're trying to put behind that. And well, I will say that even more important is that hire people who can identify opportunities instead of like just being like close mentally. No, no, this is the only thing that I will do, and I will just stuck to this. I know several backend developers and database developers who are like that. Uh, but in a startup, they're completely useless. That's reality. You don't want to take a database expert from Oracle to work in your startup. No, like get a weirdo with ADHD and a lot of caffeine. You will work better for you. that that's something like that, So
Yeah.
this is my thinking. Like, I don't know what's your opinion about it.
No, I mean, I think it's spot on. And something I was thinking about when you were just like explaining this is, yeah, we do go into some meetings and we say, hey, it's not really a fit. You don't want to implement AI into your actual production environment, but there are opportunities to implement AI elsewhere in your business to optimize your release cycles, optimize your feedback loops, like optimize the interaction between your teams, right? But yeah, a lot of times implementing AI in your production system is going to make your product worse. So I think if it's your a brand new startup, your very first hire shouldn't be like an AI engineer for sure. It should not be. It should be someone who can solve the problem and expand on it. And to be honest, if you're a founder of a growing startup, your first hire shouldn't be technical. It should be someone who can like build the constraints and the specs for a really good product, and then someone who can sell it very well. Those are more important than even building the product. If I'm being totally honest, for a founder, like, and it builds on what you said. The product market fit is more important than whatever is behind it. And a lot of these big companies, right? Like you said, Oracle, you don't want like a database expert from Oracle coming to your company. A lot of these companies, they get big. They don't get big because of the tools they're using. They get big because the thing they built is widely adopted. And it's not widely adopted because they chose a certain technology over another one. It's just they chose whatever technology they built because it was the path that they saw forward and the path that made sense at the time. And almost every software engineer that I know, they've been part of some type of transition work from legacy to more modernized workflow. So it doesn't matter what tool you use, what language you use, what model you use. It's more important that you build something that will make people's lives easier. And that's like the bottom line. So you don't want to
I,
hire AI because it's trendy. You want to hire the person who's going to solve your biggest problem, and that's it.
I agree, and I will say that the only exceptions that I can think of, like in this like whole question, it will be like AI native startups, because of course,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you're building a generative AI startup, well, you need somebody that
Oh
knows
yeah,
about generative.
of
Uh-huh.
course.
And of course, a specific cases like frontier AI products, robotics, or research heavy companies, right? Like of the
Yeah,
only way to build Hermes, for example, which is like probably the best agent that there is right now.
hmm
Of course, you need AI engineers. That's the only thing you need there, because that's the only thing you do. So of course it makes sense, right? But I think those probably will be the only exceptions. Okay, AI
yeah,
native startups, frontier AI products, robotics, uh, research heavy companies. And why I make this case? Okay, I'm going to put one example. It's going to blow your mind, and then you're going to be like confused about it, right? Which is, uh, there is this application that is called CAL. That's it. CAL. That's it. It's on the App Store. It got sold for millions of dollars. Millions of dollars. And it was built by two or three marketers from California. Okay? And you have seen this application. Let me tell you what it does, and you're going to know exactly what it does. It's an application where you take a picture of your food, and it
mm
automatically logs how many calories you're eating.
yeah,
You saw the application, right?
yeah,
Everybody,
yeah,
everybody did. So it became viral. It became viral, and then make millions, and then they sold this thing for millions, right? Not a single person involved is technical, like none. Why? Because and I will make it an engineer on that case, it will be completely useless, because the only AI they were using was one feature that Cloud Code can build. Okay,
hmm
that's real. The rest of the application was literally a calorie tracker application. The
yeah,
easiest thing you can build in your life, right? So if this application will try to get an AI engineer to get into the business, right, to try to build more AI stuff, they will probably fail. That's the reality, because their whole thing is we do only one thing and we do it pretty cool. That's it.
Yeah.
It's very easy to use, right? Uh, and even when I won't call this business an AI native startup because I don't think it is. But for sure it's an AI enabled startup, you know. And in that case of that difference of AI native versus AI enable, for AI enable, never, never in your life your first person should be an AI engineer. For an
Hmm.
AI native for sure. You know, I think that's like the difference that you can see easily.
Yeah. And I mean, even like what you said, that Cal Tracker app, anybody can build that as long as you have like a very distinct and explicit vision on what you want. If you know exactly what you want, how you want it to look, what exactly you want it to do, how the features will work, what the outcome will be, you don't need an AI engineer. You just need Claude, and you need to work through it with Claude. Have Claude ask you what questions do you have, what is it, where are there gaps, close those gaps, come up with a spec file, feed it to Claude, and post it to the App Store, sell it for a couple $1 million. That's it. That's all you gotta do.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
that
Well, I
easy.
mean,
Like,
believe me, this guy is not thinking about money anymore. So clearly, it works, right?
yeah.
So I would say that the biggest takeaway from this question is like don't hire AI because it's trendy.
Mhm.
Hire the person that actually solves the biggest business problem for you.
Yep.
I'll say that's the case.
Yep. Cool. Let's get to letter number 3. Dear human in the loop, my developers just don't want to use AI. Some don't trust it. Others consider it cheating. Should I push them to use it? How do I get them to adopt it? Uh, Sincerely, a frustrated engineering director. So this happens more than you would think it happens. This happens actually very, very often. Um, a lot of like interns and new college graduates, they're super heavy into AI, which is kind of expected because it's been coming up these past 5 or so years throughout their entire high school, college career. So I'm sure they've been using it quite often. So there's been a lot of times when I'm working with teams that have engineers that are hesitant to adopt AI. And one of the things I do hear a lot is, I don't want to use AI. I don't know how to use AI. If I even try to use AI, it's going to take me longer than if I were to just do the code changes myself manually. And that's true to an extent. And it'll probably be true for a while. It'll be true the first time you do it. It might be true the second and third and maybe even fifth time you do it. But I think, I mean, the thing that I always say is, you will get better with it over time and you will get more efficient over time. So even if it takes you longer the first few times, the ROI is there if you are consistent with it and you get better with it and you get more efficient with it. It's just bound to happen. And there are ways to use AI so that the code quality remains solid, the security and privacy are locked in. You do have to put in the work though. And a lot of times when I do work with teams like this, the thing that I try to do is I try to demonstrate the value, right? Like, let's take one of your tickets, let's take one of your changes that you want to make, and we'll talk through it. And a lot of times, like, I see that it's not just using AI for the code generation that would produce better results. It's writing better ticket descriptions, writing better acceptance criteria, giving more context in the tickets, right? Like, one of the questions I always ask is, you've been working here for 10 years, right? But if you onboarded a new engineer, they just started yesterday, would they be able to take this ticket and complete it end to end? Would they be able to own the entire thing from start to finish? Or would they come to you with a question and say, hey, I don't know where this is. Hey, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how our project like handles this. If that is the case for a human engineer who's onboarding onto your team, they can't complete it with the current ticket description, I wouldn't expect you to be able to just plug it into an AI agent and have it completed either. And I think that's an important distinction is, it's not just your developers who should be adopting AI if this is the direction you want to go, because there's ROI for AI adoption in all points of the SDLC, the software development lifecycle. And the same with the other questions, right? Start small, find easy wins and grow from there. That's typically my advice. And a lot of these, like, I don't know about a lot of them, but there have been a few that I can think of, like very specific cases where I work directly with someone one-on-one who is totally against AI. They don't want to use it. And then I have a couple one-on-one sessions with them. And within a month, I see them saying, hey, like, look at this cool thing I built. Like, hey, I built this. And now my team is like turned around, like our like sprint cycles. Like, we're going crazy. And I love those. Those are crazy, like, good success stories. And not only that, I help one person in a one-on-one, and I can see them going to help dozens of other people. So I feel a sense of pride from that as well. So yeah, it's going to happen, but you got to really work with them, and you got to show them the value. You know, you got to build trust. You got to build trust with them in you, and also you got to build their trust in this new technology. And that, I think you'll find traction with that. What do you think?
I agree. I'm going to make an analogy here for the people who don't want to use AI. Okay. Because the reason that you say that, oh no, it will take me actually longer than just doing things on my own, right? And I will ask to the people who think like that. Did the first time you use your favorite language, I don't know, whatever it is, JavaScript, Python, Java, I hope it's not Java, please. But you know, whatever language, right?
Java was my first language.
Or horrible.
It was for Minecraft. It's different. It doesn't count.
But was the first time did you build something fast? Like the first time you were learning the language, was it fast? Like were you able to build something meaningful, or it took you time to be able to understand better how it works? And that's exactly what AI it is. Okay, it's a new skill. You need to understand how it works. You need to go through the process, and you will get better over time. Just exactly as you got better in programming. It's exactly
Mhm.
the same thing. Okay, and yeah, you're using agents for programming, right? But it's not programming. Okay, it's a different skill that you need to polish. That you need to get better at that. Okay, that you need to learn. You need to learn like context engineering. You need to learn, about loops, about many things, right? And in that process, yeah, it will take time, just like it takes time for everything in life. But the reality is, like, at least in our own experience, you will get faster. You will get faster, you will be able to do way more, and that's worth it. Because even if you sacrifice, let's say, 2 sprints of 2 weeks, which is like a month in theory, okay? To be able to get somewhere. That's still better. Because after that, you'll be able to be more productive for 11 months of that year.
Mhm.
That's not a joke. Like that's a great output. Okay. Like even if you did 0 for that month, but then for the rest of the other 11 months, you will produce 2 times more. It's a win for everybody. For you,
I
for
would
the
even,
business.
yeah, I would even build on that and say you would be more efficient every single month, not just like one flat increase. It would be like an exponential growth almost, like up to a certain point. I'm sure there is a cutoff at some point,
Yes,
but
yes, of course.
if you're starting from zero into AI adoption, like I said, even if you produce 0 work this month, your graph's going to look like, I don't know which way I'm on the screen, but it's going to be like it's going to be
Yeah,
like
yeah,
curved
yeah.
up for sure.
I mean, yeah, you can see this, okay? Like we have a GitHub, right, for Valley Seed, right? And you can check our profiles. You can see how, like, before the era of AI commits and after the era of AI, very clearly. If you check our GitHub, like, they're public, you can go and check it out. If you don't believe us, right? Like how much you can increment, okay? And yes, of course, you will always have this like old person who will be like, in my time, we used to do programming with like
Pen
cars
and
with
paper, pen
holes.
and paper.
Yeah, like yeah, okay, whatever, okay. But
Yep.
I will make this case, okay. We are not researchers. We are engineers. Okay. We get paid to produce. We get paid to bring solutions. We get paid to be productive. Okay, the whole idea about engineering is how much things you can do with the money you have and the time you have. Those are the constraints. And whatever you build, it needs to be around those two constraints, time and money. That's it. Okay? Like, if you don't care about money, you are probably a philosopher or something and you're poor, right? And if you don't care about time,
Yeah.
that means you're probably a university teacher and you have nothing interesting in your life, right? But the reality is, like, you need to take care into consideration both of those things always when you're building something, and this is really, really important, you know. And I know that some people will say, well, what is the point of me getting like 2 times better performance if I'm going to get paid the same? And I will tell you, if you want to bargain for an increase of salary, what better way to do it with everything on your side, right? Hey, look, I'm doing way more. This is how much more I want, right? But on the other side, if you're going to go and ask for a raise, and well, you haven't produced that much, you know, like you are on the losing side there, right? So this is
Well,
this is good for you and at the same time for the business, but as long as there's this understanding, right?
even to build on that, right? Like, if you're vying for a promotion, you're vying for a raise. I mean, it's just like any other, like, it's the tech industry, right? Things move fast, and if you don't keep up, it's not a good thing, right? And even if even if you don't 2x your output, and even if you do 2x your output and keep the same pay, right? It's better than keeping your output 1x and getting laid off because everyone else is 2xing theirs, right? So it's life is a competition. Engineering is always a competition as well. And, whether you like it or not, whether you're friends or whatever with your coworkers, you're always in competition, especially when the budget hits, right? Like, you got to justify your spend. Just like in engineering, you got to justify the time and money you spend on things. That's the same across the board. It's the same for companies. It's the same for engineering teams. It's the same for you as an individual. It's the same for when you're budgeting for your family, right? You got to justify things, and it has to make sense. Like, engineering is always a series of trade-offs, and that's what it is, right? So I would always recommend, if you're in engineering, start learning it. It's worth knowing. It's better to know it and not need it than to need it and not know it.
100% agree. And I will go like fast through some small recommendations because, okay, so just for context, okay, we do offer a service that is called AI enablement, okay, and in that service we go like physically or sometimes online to these businesses and we teach their teams how to use AI properly, and this is usually highly technical teams, right? So these are a few of the things that they have said to us, and this is how we usually have a conversation with them. Okay, one, the code is going to be really bad quality. Okay, you have quality gates for that. Okay, you have proper processes that checks for the quality of the code, and on top of that, we usually recommend having some type of AI that is going to do a deep code review of what you are doing on each PR. Okay, but this starts even before. Okay, this starts with GitHub hooks, pre-commit hooks, like many things that you can actually configure, like to see if indeed the quality is there. Okay, and this is really, really, really important. This is something that if you didn't have before, you need to implement it before you start with proper AI because it's better for that. Okay, so the second one is that, well, if even if the code is still decent, because there's so much code, you ended up eventually with a horrible code base. And our response to that is like every code base ends up in a horrible code base. Doesn't matter if it's 100% human or 100% agents. And this is mostly because complexity grows and entropy grows with that complexity. Okay, like this is a natural process of every single software. If you don't believe me, try to use anything from Meta that is not the public facing applications. Okay, so for example, we record a podcast right here, okay, for everybody. So we use Meta Business Suite, okay, to schedule some of our posts and stuff like that. It's completely unusable. It's horrible. It fails so much. Like, it's a horrible piece of software. Like, the whole Meta systems are so horrible code wise that they needed to build a query language, okay, to be able to get the data that they needed because everything was so chaotical that nobody had an idea where everything was. And this is why GraphQL was born, okay? And when GraphQL got popularized, some of the things that we had conversation about it was like, this is a horrible thing. Don't use it. Like, this is great for Meta, okay? Because they have that need, but for everybody else, it makes absolutely no sense. Like, literally, it makes absolutely no sense, you know? And it's one of those cases. Every code base, the more it grows, the more it goes into entropy, and the worse everything gets. This is just you are only noticing that process because you're going faster. Before, it will take you 10 years to get to that point, okay? And because of that, you were like, oh, that's not that bad. Yeah, it's exactly as bad as it has always been. But the difference, it was the time, right? Before you need 10 years to get to that point. Now you need a year, okay? So now the question is not if it's going to happen, okay? But rather what you will do if it happens, right? Like when it happens, rather, right? Like what are you going to do when it happens? And there are several ways that you can manage this, okay? Like a little bit of re-architecture, you know, several things so it keep running smooth. But this is the same thing that you were doing before too, okay? Like this is nothing uncommon. That after a code base gets so massive, you ended up separating things, you know. This is why even microservices exist, because like all these code bases were massive and they were thinking, oh, well, if there's just one function that does only one thing, everything will be easier. And then a lot of business starting having like 20,000, you know, of those, and they went back to the same problem, right? So that's not a valid reason to stop using AI. Another one that we hear a lot, you know, is that, oh, but they will steal our like programming or whatever. On our own experience, neither OpenAI or Cloud, they use, on the paid version, of course, right? They use your data to train these models. That's our own experience. But I think you're giving too much like credit to your code. Like if you can write that code, everybody can write that code. Like there's nothing special about it, okay? Like I know that as engineers, you know, they will feel like, oh, that's like my baby, you know, like because I grew up this product, you know, from nothing. And we really need to detach ourselves from the sentimentality of like, oh, but I built it, right? Like, yeah, you can build another 20 million more, okay? Like stop worrying about it, okay? Like it is what it is, okay? It's nothing super important. It's just life, okay? And just let it go, and keep focusing on making a great product, on hitting product market fit, you know, on doing great as a business, okay? That will be my idea. So
Yeah, it's a great question because it happens a lot. So I'm glad we got to tackle that today.
okay, so that was question number 3. So let's jump into the question, or rather letter number 4. Dear Human in the Loop, I'm trying to future-proof my career. What AI skills will still matter 5 years from now? So, this is going to be a combination of a professional opinion plus a personal opinion on this process, okay? But this is something that we need to understand, okay? we are not vibe coders, okay? And I'm not saying this to shame nobody, okay? I have said this a million times. Vibe coding is okay. Do it as much as you want. But vibe coding is for non-technical people. Okay? Like this is like for marketers, for for product people, for product managers who want to build a small thing that they want to show, okay, about how it's supposed to be the idea, okay? And it's amazing for that, okay? It's amazing for that. But we don't do that here. We do proper engineering, okay? And because we do engineering, the most important skill you can learn, as you can imagine, is software engineering fundamentals. Those ones that you hated at school that you were like, oh, what is even the point of learning this? Like all those ones, Now they are more important now than ever. And the more time it passes, the more important they will become. Because we will have people more and more disconnected from the engineering side. But this is normal, okay? Like you need to understand, like in that process. And again, okay, I'm trying to shame anybody, okay? Engineering is Mozart, okay? Engineering is Mozart. Vibe coding is Bad Bunny, okay? Like that's how it is, okay? I'm not trying to shame vibe coders. I'm just saying that there's clearly a difference of skills of how deep you can go in that ladder, right? Can Bad Bunny sing? Kind of, right? Like that doesn't mean like he's great at anything. He's just what he does what he can with the skills that he has, right? Like it's one of those things. So anything regarding software engineering, fundamentals, systems design, architecture, this is like very, very, very important. If we are going to incline ourselves a little bit more on the product side, like product thinking is very, very important. But I think the two most important skills probably, I mean, not most important, but beside engineering, that you can probably learn right now that you will use even 20 years from now. And I know it's going to sound weird for somebody that barely speaks English, but communication. Communication is really, really important. Is really important. Like being able to express the ideas that you have in your brain, and not only talk to the clients about this, right? Or to the CEO or the C level, or the decision makers. That's always important. That's always important. Being able to sit with somebody and explain technical, extremely complex technical stuff into non-technical terms, it's a skill that will never stop being amazing. Doesn't matter how much time, okay? And the other one is like English, brother. Every LLM works in English, please. Like I know I said that it was going to be weird because obviously my English is not perfect by any means, right? And I have a lot of issues with grammar and all that. Yeah, I do, but I can still communicate and I can get things done. I'm not saying that my English is perfect by any means, but I'm saying that it's a really important skill and it will only get more important with time. It won't get less, okay? That's the reality. Now, and the reason is simple. Every LLM is trained on mostly English. Like, this is how it is, okay? Like, a lot of the safeguards that they train all these LLMs, they fall apart the moment you speak Romanian or Russian to them. Okay, if I ask in English, hey, how can I make a nuclear bomb? Oh, I cannot help you with that, blah, blah. And then you ask in Russian something, sukabliat, I don't know, whatever. Instantly it will tell you, and the main reason is because the post-training process, it's never in other languages, sadly, so the less people speak that language, like the easier is to pretty much, to bypass a lot of these things, but English communication, basic stuff, they will never pass, but together with that communication, being able to express ideas in a clear way is critical thinking. Critical thinking is really important in an era where we can see videos of cats fighting pandas created by some weird Chinese video model.
And you will see boomers. Oh my God, is this real? No, it's not. Of course, it's not. What kind of question is that? Okay, like this is
Yeah.
really important. You know, like the critical thinking is going to be like the last skill standing against all this weird stuff that is happening right now. So think deeply. Okay, do not let yourself go. Just believe what the LLM is doing. You know, and it's something that I would say. Okay, we use LLMs all day. We use Cloud Code. We use Codex. You know, TTP Codex and all that. One thing that I do regularly, it's stop. Is just stopping the freaking harness because it's doing something stupid.
Yep.
Like literally, I'm checking and then, hey, I didn't told you to that. You know, I will stop and I was like, hey, this that you're doing is not correct. Why are you doing that? And
What are we
obviously,
doing
they
here?
always come with this like, oh well, I was thinking that maybe no. Your task is very
No, no,
specific,
no.
brother. It's changing this file. That's it. Like, stop it right there. You know.
Yeah.
And again, that can only happen in critical thinking. Okay, like there's no way you will just like trust this thing, you know, and let it happen, right? And there's a lot of other skills that maybe you can make the case that are important, like model evaluations, verifications. Uh, but I don't think they're that important because the reality is like LLMs are the thing right now. Tomorrow it can be something else. It can be
Yeah.
older technology that has nothing to do with LLMs, and we will need to adapt. So in
Yep.
that case, I will say adaptability and learning continuously is super super important. We are in an industry that will never stop ever, and if you want an industry that it will never that it will be very calm, I don't know, going to construction or something like that. You know, like we build houses the same way for like hundreds of years. You know, like
Yeah.
nothing much will change really on that side. But regarding tech, or you love it for real, or you will hate it. And this is why we saw a lot of people getting burned out in the last 2 years, because these were people that went into tech because they wanted the money, but they hated the job, right? And what happened is like now that everything is faster than before, so you would just hate more things, you know, you have more space to hate, and you end up like completely, born out of this. And this is why so many people has just jumped out, of the boat, uh, because there's no way for them really to keep track with these massive changes that we can see, and I would say this is like the main skills that you should focus probably. And of course, there are things that will commoditize like super fast. So I will say like don't focus on prompt hacks, okay? Or framework of the week. The reality is every framework is dead after LLMs. Everything is JavaScript. I'm sorry for everybody else.
Yeah.
Uh, and and the other one is memorizing model quirks. Like that makes very little sense, especially because now we have harness that help us like get the best of those models. And the harness are pretty good. They are pretty good. So that's kind of my take. I don't know what you think about it.
So I
Give your
think I
truth.
think you're no, I think you're dead on. I think if you're trying to future proof your career, there's a lot of things you can do, and AI skills isn't really one of them. Because I mean, even like if you're looking at like so if you wanna future proof your career, figure out where you want to go, figure out what you want to do, and take meaningful steps along your career path to get there, right? So by that, what I mean is build projects, build personal projects, find a company that you like that's doing something that you think you can expand on, think that will expand your current knowledge base, your current skill set, and use like AI skills. Like I said, it's not part of them. And what Oscar said is dead on. Like software engineering fundamentals, systems level thinking, system design, architecture, all this stuff is important. You should be able to design something scalable and meaningful without AI. And you only get that by actually doing things. So, I mean, I've been in the industry now, like professionally, for just over 10 years. And I think I honestly was like in the golden age, right? Where I had to get through college on my own, no AI. I had to get through the first 5 or 6 years of my career, no AI. So I was like in the trenches learning all this stuff, like from like by myself, like with the teams that I was on at the companies I worked for. And, I'm probably one of the last generations to have like gone through those trial and errors, like in that way. Cause like now AI is readily available and everybody's using them, which isn't inherently a bad thing. But it is a bad thing if you're just plugging things into an AI saying, hey, how do we build this? And then I'd send you this big long plan and you don't even read it. You're like, yeah, go for it, build it. Like, I do that sometimes, but like just with like very unimportant things. Like if I'm just building like a Tetris game or like something stupid, like I just want to just like vibe code something. But if you really want to future proof your career, you have to be able to, like Oscar said, explain these things inside and outside to a technical person or a non-technical person. And the only way you get to be able to do that is by truly understanding these. So I would say do like mock interviews with even with your AI, with your friend, with your colleagues, whatever. Have them ask you things and answer them without AI. Have them ask you to design something, design it without AI. Draw up the architecture, draw a like a diagram for it, map out some skeleton classes, come up with like a spec file that you think would get the job done, and be able to defend your decisions, be able to explain the trade-offs without an AI telling you what they are, because only with that actual skill set you'll be able to enhance yourself with AI, right? Because like Oscar said, anybody can plug anything into any AI and build anything they want, but only real like engineers who truly understand these things can build something that will last. And that's more important, especially if you're trying to future-proof your career. Does that make sense? Like, I think it's way more
I
important.
think it makes sense. Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I don't care what model you're using. I don't care what model comes out next week. Like we've seen with this podcast been going for 15 weeks now, and it's the AI landscape is incredibly different now compared to when we started, and it's going to be even worse 5 years from now. So don't spend your time learning Claude. Don't spend your time learning OpenAI. Don't spend your time, like you said, learning the goofy quirks of each one. Like, I mean, you and I know them. Like Gemini is good at like images. Claude is good at like code workflows. OpenAI is like not good, but it's better at like copywriting than the other ones. But like that knowledge is worthless, right? But what is worthwhile is learning what makes Claude good at code workflows, learning what makes OpenAI good at copywriting. Like, why is this copyright better than what Claude makes? And like building those in like my own brain and saying, okay, so like if I were to just do my own copywriting, how would I want it to sound? What do I think would get the most engagement? Just things like that. I think is being better without AI is gonna future-proof your career better than learning any specific AI skill.
And to be fair, we are in this process that I think we already discussed this, that we believe that LLMs will be commoditized, whether we want it or not. It will happen. They will get commoditized. Okay, so there's no point, And so you have an idea how different this is. Okay, when we started this podcast, my bet was that Google was going to win the AI race. That's how off I was. Okay, like. And now, do I believe that Google will win the AI race? Hell no. They are like so far behind that it feels like a joke, like. So this is how much things changes, okay? But what hasn't changed so far, it's engineering principles. We still use those every day that we're building new stuff, we're still use critical thinking every single day, okay? And like Matt said, it's really important that when you, I don't know, do some architect design, okay? That you are able to sustain why that design is correct and to fight back, okay? Because LLMs are like annoying and they will tell you, oh, this is the best way to do it. And it's like, no, it's not. Like, the hell are you talking about? Like, of course it's not. Like, it's obviously not, like, and you need to make your case, okay? Because if you have some people in your team that they just believe everything, they will tell you, oh, but my cloud code, like review your code, and it tells me that this should be better this way. And I was like, nope, it's not, and this is the reason why it's not. Okay, not asking Cloud, hey, please say why it's not the best. Like, no, no, okay, like to make your case properly. Okay, and this is really, really important as a skill, like 100%. Okay, please, and
I'm
please
glad you
say
brought that
more.
up.
Say no to your agent more. Okay,
Yeah.
like I hate these people. Just, oh yeah, sure, yes, 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 just do this. No, like
No, and I'm glad you brought that up. Because one thing, like especially if you're in engineering, especially if you're in software development, and I said this a few episodes ago, right? Like I would not want to use in coding IDE that I can't see the code, right? Because being able to see the code, read through the code, like skim it and get an understanding for what's going on and be able to spot things that are wrong or are bad designs, that's going to be super important. Pushing back and like having good engineering standards, right? Like good code smell, good PR quality, like nothing huge, like nothing crazy. Having like just good code hygiene and good practices, like having the like best practices you possibly can, and having those like just second nature, right? That's going to be super important, especially as the more agentic development becomes popular, right? Because like you said, like Oscar said, they'll make something that works, these agents, but chances are it's not going to work like the best way possible. You got to defend yourself against this gaslighting like AI that's going to make you think
yeah,
you're
they're
crazy.
literally trying to gaslight you. Like I I'm going to just give one example that I got so angry by this. Okay, but I put Cloud to do a little interaction. Okay, they open a model, do this, do that. Okay, like small things. Okay, and literally it added a use effect to listen for the open value to show something. And I was like, are you out of your mind? The user is clicking on something. That's all you need to open this thing. Like, why are you adding, like, listeners? And like, how stupid is that? Like, well, but what if the user make a long press? I don't care. Don't open it. Like, like,
Nothing.
like,
I don't care.
like these weird edge cases are non-important. Like, please delete that use effect, okay? I was like, okay, yeah, you're right. It's like, yeah, of course I'm right.
Good one. That was a good question as well. I'm happy. Like, and I love getting these letters. I love getting these questions. Um, but what about you? What do you think? That kind of wrap this up? You think?
Yeah, yeah. Let's wrap this thing up because we're ready. Again, this is the first time we try this new idea. As you can see, it will probably take some time for us to get used to this. But the idea why we're doing this because clearly there's so many questions out there, and these questions keep popping up non-stop in our experience. So we want to give you some of our learnings. Okay, by any means doesn't mean we're like the best in the universe or whatever, but we have the experience and we can prove it. Okay, so that's it for the episode. My name is Oscar Gallo.
I'm Matt Wozniak. Thanks for tuning in.